you're in the couchsurfing community.
Mm-hmm.
Right. How long have you been in the couchsurfing community?
From the beginning,
Mm.
I think, when was it? 2007, I believe.
Mm.
So that's quite long.
Mm.
When I was young and handsome.
You're still looking.
Now I'm still handsome.
You're still okay looking. Come on. So you went through this process of welcoming people into your home, giving them a place to stay, give them an exposure to a new culture. What is your favorite takeaway from this community?
Uh, well, besides the fact that you learn a lot about people and cultures, you learn also a lot about yourself. And especially if you see where I come from, it's quite something. Because in the past I could not even stand strange people in my house.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a little bit the way I've been raised, because my family, and I call really the family, like my mother, my brother, my sister-in-law lived with us for a while. It was a very closed house.
Mm-hmm.
Like if my best friends tell me, yeah, my best friend, he was a few times at my house, but his wife that already know for 37, 8 years, only saw my mom one time, then my best friend, and they only saw my mom one time at my wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And that says enough.
Mm-hmm.
So we are very close. So I'm raised very close, very conservative and that kind of thing. Only after my divorce, my ex blocked the bank account while my whole salary was going away on mortgage, tax, insurance, etc., etc. And I had no money to live.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I had to find a way. So I started to rent out rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I stayed alive. But it's also, I got used to have strangers in the house. And one moment I found out that actually I liked it. And then I went to Colombia and I love traveling. And then I was started to look on the internet for, how do you call it, travel companions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I just found Couchsurfing, and the rest is history.
Mm-hmm.
So about 1,000 people later that I hosted, you are here.
Very cool.
But you can be 1,001, but you also can be 1,030. I have no idea. And not all people were couchsurfing, because there were also a lot of people that came with friends and family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, I'm still sick, people, so I be coughing every now and then. Oh well. The steam helps. Okay, so cool. So you have this long history of this community, like kind of feel integrated and into it. One thing that I would say is that surfing with you, I felt that you know how to host people, more or less. You know how to make people feel comfortable and at home, and give them space to be themselves, while also preserving your own comfort as well. And it's like a delicate thing that we have to do when we have these people in our homes, because we have to like balance a lot of factors. So I'm not gonna lie that in the past I have filtered people I accepted for attractiveness. Okay, that is for attractiveness. Like I would respond better if somebody's attractive, and I think, oh, it's a potential date. I don't think then, oh, I will corner them in my home, but it's much more like, oh, this is an opportunity to explore. And I've always liked that aspect to it, because you have this open door where you have a traveler, a friend, a possible tryst, a possible exploration, and you get to explore to however much you both agree, and you come out of the experience knowing a little bit more about the world and the people and the flavors that exist. But it's really hard to communicate this to people who are not really from old school couch surfing, because they think, oh, this is a hookup app. But it's different than that. It's not about hookups. It's about exploration.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult to convey this to people who are not as subtle, who don't know how to read cues and follow the flow of what's happening when you're there together.
I do not have that. I never saw Couchsurfing as a hookup app. I still don't. It was not in the past, and I still don't have it. Because I even hosted people that did not even have a photo on the profile or a photo from the back. For me, it's mostly reading what they write. That's mostly what it makes them interesting. It's also like I had a few weeks, I think a month and a half ago, I had a woman from Kyrgyzstan. And I really wrote her that I want to host you because I never hosted someone from your country, and I want to learn about your country and that kind of thing. And she was, yeah, she liked my question, so she came, and she was here for about 4 days. We really had a good time, and I showed her many things. But she was also a tourist, so she really wanted to see. And that's more my goal, to host as many people as possible from as many different countries. But I never saw it as a hookup app. And
yeah, it's not good to look at it that way, because first of all, you'll be disappointed, and second of all, it's not the point.
if it happens, it happens. I'm a liar if I say it didn't happen, because you can meet people and you can really like each other that much, and that's totally fine. Only it should not be, and like if you go as a woman to a guy, it's fine, but me as a guy, I cannot put myself in that position. I cannot invite women and then give them the feeling that I want something with them, because that would not be right. Because I'm a guy, and I think a woman should first of all feel safe and comfortable. And I think I managed that in the time. But I also hosted guys, so not only women. And
You host a lot of women though. When I was looking through your references, it took me a while to find a man, and I didn't find a man while I was looking.
then you have to go very far back.
Yeah.
Then, but the point is, it goes so slowly. Then it takes you half a day to find out that a few hundred references ago there were real
But
guys.
it doesn't mean anything necessarily. Maybe you just get along with women better or something like that.
That for sure.
Yeah.
That for sure. Because, and honestly, I rather host women than guys. Because a man in your house means that there's always a dirty toilet. They pee over the toilet and you see drops everywhere.
That's so rude. Oh, that's not true.
Yeah, oh, seriously, that is really true.
Oh no.
Really, it doesn't matter. Even if a friend goes to the toilet and he comes back, I have no, maybe it's because they're older than the average guys normally. I don't know, but seriously, it's true.
Oh wow.
Or other people maybe have the, how do you call it? The education that they clean it, that they look around and oh shit, I did, and they clean it. But you also have people that don't give a shit.
Okay. So your house is solar powered, mostly.
No, it's not really solar powered. It's just I have solar panels, but I need more electricity than they can deliver.
Oh, okay. But you know what has happened since being in your house? I've sort of relaxed a bit, because I tend to think a lot about consumption. I tend to think a lot about what am I doing personally. It's the wrong way to think about the problem, but here we are. I'm working my way out of it slowly, but yeah, that's what it is. And since being here, I've sort of been like, oh, I don't have to think about that. You know, it's coming from someplace decent. I'm not a part of a problem. I am just able to function properly. Know that I'm not a part of the problem. and that brings such a certain kind of peace, you know, to know that you're like not consuming energy wantonly and not having to think about like stopping charging this before you use too much energy, or you get all these different advice on how to save energy, and it makes you like into a machine where you're like working on keeping everything in gear and whatever. But yeah, I've had the chance to relax, and I really thank you for that, because it's something I really needed. I've been struggling with a thing called eco anxiety, you know, where it's like you're anxious based on climate related things, and I've been struggling for a long time. And this is just a little peek into what life is like when it is worry free in that sense. And it gives me so much hope. And I really thank you for that. You've been a very welcome addition to my life.
But that's something that you said, and that I cannot imagine that you said I didn't feel as a problem. So you had before that you were feeling as a problem for someone.
Um, no, I felt like I was a part of the problem of overconsumption. Whenever I would like leave on the lights or open the fridge for too long, or you know, I would always be thinking about these things and trying not to be a part of the problem.
Okay, but you didn't do that.
Yeah, but
Yeah, okay, you left the light on the bathroom, but yeah.
yeah, I know I still don't do that, but
But
it's
I
just that
mean that
I can kind of relax in this house.
but that cost a lot, cost so little of energy that
I know,
I
but
cannot understand. But that's not a
I'm a bit
problem.
crazy about that kind of stuff. That stuff like really gets in my brain.
You shouldn't do that
Yeah, it's not
because, like, if
healthy.
you see what fabrics you use and that kind of thing, then it's what we as a person, what we consume here, in, especially in the Western world, it's nothing comparing to other countries.
Really? How so?
Well, if you see that here is a lot already, we have a lot of windmills, so we have a lot of wind energy. So that means that the energy is already more natural than it is in other countries.
Yeah, but you guys also fly a lot to different places, and you buy a lot of things, and you drive a lot from place to place, and you barbecue a lot during the summer, and you know, you do all these little things that even if your energy is clean, it doesn't mean that like you're the best consumers in the world, because I've had this conversation before where my friend and I, we have visited countries that are less developed and have to be ecological because it's economical. Um, and they do things as well that are just not easy to compute because there's no one tallying these things in the home or something. So the only objective factors used to describe whether a country is green or not is usually things that are measurable and fit into the scientific profile. But there are so many things outside of that that are cannot be accounted for. So say for example, people in their house, maybe they don't have a recycling program in the country, but people recycle within their house by using a jar to do something else because they can't afford Tupperware. You know, these things just don't get accounted for because it's private, it's individualistic, and it's based on economics, but it's also happens to be ecological at the same time. And there's no accounting for it. And so then you have these countries that are marked as the most green ones, and you're like, yeah, but you're recycling, but you're exporting your plastic waste to China. You're exporting your plastic waste to Taiwan. You're exporting your plastic waste to India. You know, it's very difficult to pinpoint what green really means in this world when there are these different systems at play. So I would hesitate to say that the West is just so much greener. You are green based on the system you want to perpetuate. So you're agreeing in the fact that if you want to continue consuming this electricity as you are already doing, if you just make it green, you cannot continue to do it and you'll be green. But it doesn't account for the fact that everything that runs on electricity is a material that is coming from the earth that is being taken. It's a resource and it requires production as well and transportation. And then you're running this stuff on clean energy, sure, but you're still accumulating a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to a poorer person who can only get one new thing a year and then runs it on dirty energy. So where's the balance there? You know?
But I think that's one thing that will never change, the difference between people, because that always was, and that still is, and that always will be. There always will be rich parts of the world and poor parts of the world. And maybe in 1,000 years, maybe we are the poor part, and then Africa is the rich part. You never know. But that was all. That always was, and that always will be.
I don't know about saying always will be. I find that
now, in the end,
to be a challenge rather than a
in
fact.
the end, the sun explodes, and then everything's gone.
Everything kind of cycles through stuff, yes, but we correct. And when we have a history to look back on, it's much better to analyze things with. And right now what's happening is so interesting because you have all these new voices giving all these new histories and stories that we can use to get a perspective on humanity. And it means something better comes, usually. That's what it usually means. Because like anytime you see a great civilization, quote unquote, they're usually these metropolises where people pass through and exchange information. And then you see all this person has, the whole history of their society, and that person has the whole history of their society. And then they marry those two things and it goes exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with how history evolves, like you have people growing exponentially in the perspectives available to draw conclusions from, and then you get these better and better answers. And sometimes it becomes too complex and you don't have the systems in place to keep track of everything, but I tend to see things progressing,
Yeah, for the fact that they recently found out, that's a few decades ago, that millions of years ago, where we are right now was a tropical ocean. Because they found bones from sea animals deep in the ground. That's right. So that means here was an ocean, and 12,000 years ago there was no sea between the mainland and England. So yeah, but those things they find out because the techniques get better, they start to dig deeper, and so more and more comes out. So of course we know more, and because of the internet it's much easier to share everything. But changes are from all time, and nothing is forever, and change will go on.
Yeah, change will always be there. But I don't think we need to necessarily fear the future.
No, of course not. But if you look at the life of a human being, then it's nothing. It's like, and it's gone. Like my mom, she's old. She's 92. But all the people she grew up with, all the people from the past, they're all gone. And then now what she tells, when I look back, it was like just a blink of an eye. And then if you see that, for example, also my dad was already a long time gone. And even my grandfather, so not my great-grandfather, my grandfather was born in 1874. So if you look back, that is almost 1.5 century ago. And then we're so small.
Yeah, we are.
We are so small.
Yeah, we are.
And in 100 years, then in fact, is everything that we think now doesn't matter anymore because there's something totally new. And that's why I'm not afraid of the future, but I don't think too much about it.
Yeah.
But there's also a difference in age. Because when I was your age, I was also thinking more of the future than I do now.
Yeah, because you don't know what's gonna happen.
No,
I mean, not so that you know what's gonna happen, but like it's like a lot to not know about.
yeah, but you probably, like for example, I've seen big changes. Because if you see from when I was born, the black-white TV till where we are now, like I never ever could imagine that I, even in the beginning of my career when I was in a hotel, I had a book with me. Because then you're in a foreign country with a TV that has a foreign language, but now you just have all the programs that you want to see, everything you have with you in a very small equipment. That for me was unthinkable. I had a skateboard and a football that were my toys when I was a child, and I was always outside. I was never inside. So if you see,
I was always outside as a kid too.
Yeah. So if you see the difference of life right now, and you don't even have to go very far, just go 20, 25 years ago back in time, and you already see that as a whole change. And you probably are going to see more changes than I do, although it's like the biggest change already has been, I think. Now it only becomes more and more and more, how can I say it, detailed. So like for example, now we have a phone and that kind of things, and like when I was with my ex-wife, we had a jacuzzi. But a jacuzzi with Bluetooth, we never heard of Bluetooth because we did not have mobile phones, so we didn't know. But we did have a jacuzzi. And now you have the music that you can stream and everything, so yeah, that's really amazing if you think about it. But yeah, we never know what's going to happen, we'll see.
Yeah, it's true. Don't know.
The only thing is that a lot of science fiction movies from 20, 30 years ago, more and more comes to reality.
Oh yeah.
And that's scary
no
that you think,
good.
How did those people know?
No, it's more like, how did these people like see those movies and think, oh, that's a good idea. We can make that nice.
No, I don't. I think that was already but that's my thing. Somehow there was knowledge.
I mean, you can sometimes predict trends. Sometimes you can predict trends accurately, and then it can be called prophecy.
Although, on the other hand, I must say, like maybe on the technical base, there's a lot of changes, but if you talk about what's a hot item right now, environment, gender, how do you call it? Gender neutral
language.
Yeah, and veganism and racism and that kind of thing. I just restarted to read comic books. Comic books that I already have since I was a child. They're already more than 40 years old because of the beginning 80s. In that book are exact the same things as we have now. Racism, homosexuality, gender stuff, veganism and climate. That is already in books from 40 years old.
Yeah, they've been fighting this fight for a long time.
Yeah, so it's already for a long time. Only the point is, now they can reach more people because of for example, the internet. But if you ask me personally, did climate change? No.
You don't think so?
No, we have exactly the same summers as that. When I was 18
Greece is burning, sir.
What?
Greece is burning.
But also when I was a child, we were in Spain that it was 45 degrees and that we could not sit on the beach.
I mean, it's categorically different. It's categorically different.
Yeah, but that's what they tell you, and I try to remember like how I was 18 years old. We were sitting in March at the beach because it was 28 degrees in March when I was 18. Children, young people right now, they say, oh, but you don't have snow anymore at Christmas. I only saw 3 times in my life snow with Christmas because it doesn't snow here with Christmas. Like this is a completely normal summer. Like with the temperatures and everything. The hottest summer ever measured in the Netherlands were 1975, 1976 were the hottest summers. Not with a peak temperature, no, 6-7 weeks at a row around 30 degrees or higher. That everything was dry, that the water level was low, and that kind of things. So I personally do not see any changes. And people say, yeah, but in winter we don't skate. I only had one time that we could skate for 2 weeks on the ice. That was 1984 and 1985. Why do I remember? Because I got my moped and I could not drive with it because it was cold. So if you ask me personally, I don't see any difference. And fires in Australia and the United States or in the south of Europe, water problems in Bangladesh, and I already seen my whole life since I was a child. And then I tried to think, but yeah, how? Because what I hear now about Greece and about Italy and about Spain, I also heard 40 years ago and 30 years ago.
Yeah, but it's not a long enough time frame. The Earth moves on a different time frame. This has been getting hotter since the early 1900s when we first started really getting into oil. And then you have this progression that happens. And so maybe it doesn't seem different over a lifetime. Because it's not even a lifetime what you've lived. You did 54 years.
Yeah, but it's hundreds of years.
Yes, but it is markedly different. There are particles in the air that are not good for us. And even in the end, like, I think climate denial is irrelevant anyway, just because
climate changes, that's one thing, that's for sure.
Climate changes,
I was just telling you, he was in tropical ocean and 12,000 years ago there was no sea between the mainland and England.
Okay, climate changes, but we are doing it. This is a fact that we are doing it to the planet.
What are we doing to the planet?
We are pumping out more CO2 than the planet is meant to digest. The planet cannot digest what we're putting out. And you have an issue with digestion. You should understand this. When a body is taking in something that is not meant to take in an excessive amount, then it has a reflux situation, and then it throws the whole system into a problem.
Now my problem is something different. This doesn't just close, so that means I have the same digestion as another person, only the point is, in my case, the shit in my stomach comes out, and with you it doesn't come out because it closes.
Okay, so alright, so it's even a better metaphor then, because what's happening is that we put the CO2 out, and then it goes into the rest of the system. Is coming out through the human the human flap, because we're the ones producing all the CO2. It's not anybody else who's doing it. The human flap is producing all the CO2 and letting all the CO2 out.
Then I think you have to do more research, because CO2 is something very natural.
It is natural. I'm saying we're having an excess. There's more than the body can digest.
Yeah, I still have a problem to believe everything that they tell me. But like I said,
you don't have to believe everything they tell you, because here's what. Acting on climate, regardless of whether or not you think it's true, actually still makes life better. If you have free solar energy powering your public system, there is not necessarily a need for anybody to pay an excessive amount of money to go on the public system, because the energy needs are taken care of for the most part. You just have to do mild maintenance of the machines, the windmills and those things. And then you have cheaper public transportation, less CO2 being put out by cars, more public transportation available for people because you can afford to have much more drivers and stuff. Or even if you want to go the machine driving route, where you have the machine itself just drives itself automatically with computation, that's a possibility. I don't know if I'm 100% for that, but it's also a possibility. And even then, it would be even cheaper because the machine is driving itself, and people can just hop on to the train and hop off, and you go wherever you want to go, and it's super cheap because it's all powered by this endless supply of energy that only needs the machines maintained to receive it. So
well, there are already metros that drive completely in London, that drive completely without a driver.
Yeah, and if that's solar powered, then you have almost no expenses whatsoever. So look how cheap public transportation will be.
But you have to put, like for example, they wanted to put some windmills somewhere in a particular part of the Netherlands, and they did not do it because it was bad for birds.
Mhm.
Do you know how many dead animals they found around solar panels? Of like windmills, I mean. Do you know that the whole ecological system around the windmills in the sea is gone?
Windmills can be painted at the tips in order to give birds the understanding that it's not safe to fly that way. So they have increasingly better windmills that have things to scare the birds away and to keep them like a scarecrow kind of thing.
But then in the windmill parks in the sea, that whole ecological life around the windmills is gone.
I mean, you don't have to do that.
Every good thing has a bad thing.
You have all kinds of different power sources. You have tidal energy that doesn't necessarily hurt the animal life around if you have protection things. And this is disturbing. So you can have all these different kinds of sources of energy depending on the location. So if you're saying that windmills in the ocean are very detrimental,
In the sea,
yeah, in the sea,
especially in the North Sea and between Denmark and Sweden.
then they can replace it with tidal energy, and then they have the benefits of the energy that is clean.
What
but
is that?
tidal energy, that you capture the waves of the ocean.
Oh, that would be a good thing. Same as that they use water energy in Norway.
Mm-hmm.
That's not always possible because if you go deep into the mainland, you don't have.
No, it's different. But
So-
then in the mainland, you can have those windmills that have the paint on them to keep the birds away.
But
Yeah.
unfortunately, they.
And I
don't
mean,
do it.
there's also one thing where people think that windmills give a lot of noise. They do not. I've lived close to windmills and I don't hear a thing, and I'm very sensitive to noise.
And I think the opposite because I always had to work close to those things, and it was really like.
I mean, how close though? How close is close?
Well, I was standing, I think 20, 30 meters from it.
Yeah, well then, of course. But don't do that then.
Yeah, but the point in the Netherlands, it's almost difficult to place them. There's always a house close. Like we are one big city.
I don't know. I was close enough to one where I could look out the window and see it, on several occasions, and I just never heard anything. So there's a sweet spot.
300 meters or 30 meters is a big difference. But like for example, I said this country is quite full if you see where houses are.
Mm-hmm.
So right now they place it, but one moment it comes so full that you cannot do it anymore without bothering people.
Mm. I have a friend who makes a rooftop solar unit that I think is quieter than a turbine.
But my rooftop solar, my solar panels, you don't hear anything.
No, I'm rooftop wind.
Oh, okay.
It's a wind. Sorry.
A propeller.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it is as noisy as a turbine, but yeah, it
No,
exists.
of course not. But I mean, have you ever seen the size of a windmill? How big these things are?
Mm.
Like they have wings from 40 meters. So that means from one wing to the other one. That's just 80 meters in diameter.
Mm.
So of course they make a lot of noise. You cannot compare that with. That would be a thing if people would have it in the house, but still we always depend on sun and wind.
Mm.
Like the ocean always has waves, so yeah, and you never will totally get rid of centrals.
Mm.
Like most clean still is nuclear power centrals.
Yeah.
Only when something goes wrong, it goes wrong.
It goes well wrong, which I mean is not, to me it's not a solution if you don't know how to deal with the trash.
Now that's also counts for the electric cars.
Yeah, I
Do you
guess.
have two phones?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, I have to pee, so I'm gonna pause this and be right back.
Oh, I was with New Year. I really needed to pee and I didn't want to go outside with the cold, so I just peed there in the corner. But yeah, that's a little bit difficult for a woman to do.
I like peeing outside actually. I
No,
like
but
when
like,
you have like freshly mown grass and you pee on it, and you have like the smell of the grass.
no, but if you try, like for example, if a woman tried to do it there in the corner, that's quite difficult.
Challenge accepted.
No, don't try it because then maybe it walks back in the jacuzzi.
Oh, this corner right
That
here.
corner, yeah.
What? Who does that?
I did.
Oh, why?
Because I didn't want to go. It was freezing outside, and believe me, we were four people in it, and standing there. But we were so drunk that I think they did not even know there were two of these bottles of champagne. We already had a lot of wine before, so.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So already everything. No. Sex never happened in the jacuzzi. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Because that's dirty. Because the water you have to reuse time and time and time and time.
Oh gosh. I think it's a missed opportunity, but okay.
What to do that?
Yeah, but even though I find sex in the water must be kind of like a lot of friction.
That's
because
also something.
It's not like.
I do not even think it will work with the water, because if you do this, because the point is like the water in my house. If you take a shower, the water is very soft. It feels like oil. But this water isn't, because on the moment I fill the jacuzzi, I close my machine that I get calcium water in here, because they told me that I have to fill it up. But if you feel like this, then how can you have sex with that?
Yeah, it's too.
I tried it in the sea. That's
coarse.
also not not a success. So I'm not sure it's a missed opportunity.
All right. You wanna get heavy?
You
wanna get heavy?
I'm heavy.
About your friend.
Oh, that. Yeah, well, it is what it is. It's like he just died, and we have to see what's coming out. So let's hope that he is as soon as possible back in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And for the rest, it's just like, yeah, feeling that has to go away. But in my case, it doesn't. Mostly, it doesn't take that long. Now I just feel a little bit sad. But tomorrow will be better, and then life goes on. That's the whole thing. Life goes on. People are sad. People cry. They go to the funeral or the cremation, and then it's over. And just life goes on. We saw it with other friends, much younger. They died, and often we talk about them. Oh yeah, this and this and this and this, but life goes on. Also, friends, and then they marry, have children, and then you're 1 year later, and the girls already have another boyfriend. That happens.
Weird.
No, I think like the point is that if I would have a wife and I would be young and I would die, I also would not want her to be alone. Just go on with your life, because a person's dead, doesn't come back anymore. Same with my father. Funny thing is, he died on the 1st of April, and he always made jokes about everybody. So about having the last word. But yeah, it also like, yeah, I was at peace with it. Of course I missed him, but if I could do what my father did, if I could retire at 55 and have my pension till I'm 76, just let me sign. I don't have to become older. Then you can travel, you can do whatever you want. And now we have to work till we're almost 70. How the hell are we going to manage that? How can someone who's making streets, who is having those tiles and those stones, how can those people work till mostly when they're 50, they're fucked up? But we have a good system in this country. Still, not sure how it goes in the future.
But we're not to worry about the future, you said.
No, that's what I said. We will see in the future, or we won't see. But for me, I don't think it's going to make any difference.
Life goes on.
Yeah, and it stops. One moment it stops.
Mm.
It's that simple, and you can feel bad about it, or I know what it is when you think that you're going to die. And I was quite young, so then life is totally different. But for me, it's now, if I die tomorrow, fine, then I die tomorrow. I did most of the things I want to do in my life, I did. And everything I get now is extra. I don't want to die, but if I would die, so be it. And I will be fine with that. There's no one who stays alone or has financial problems because I'm not, or become homeless, or everything is on paper, everything will be arranged. So I can easily say.
Yeah, actually, I think that there's something to having a will. You know, I don't think that something to be scared of. It's better that you take off that work from your loved ones by telling them, this is how I want you to go forward when I'm not here. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's better to give them that. That's a gift.
Everything is on paper, and the person who has it on paper, like for example, a few friends know who it is, and also they know where the key is, and there's a paper that's written everything. They just go there and say, hey, this person died, and he will take all actions. And then what's left goes automatically to, now it would go to my mother. But yeah, my mother cannot do anything, and so then it goes to my brother or to my niece, so it goes to the closest. So that's, I do not even have to subscribe, register it or subscribe that, because that's automatically, that's law. But on the other hand, I think that will not be much. I enjoyed myself. Because my brother has enough money, he doesn't need it. And I live now, I don't live in the future, so now I have to enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. Sometimes you have bad times like today, but in the end, it will be fine. And there was silence. I see my phone. I see my hand. So where am I sitting? Oh, I'm here. And now I cannot take a pee in the corner, so now I have to go outside, but then I stand probably in your pee.
Yes.
Because there's a river, a yellow river, I think. No, I can hold it. I can easily hold it, even if I have to pee, I can hold it for hours.
No, I really can't.
Because the moment is all the moment you really, and once you go, after you're drunk, it's like a tap that does not close anymore. And then it keeps on coming. So you can hold it for a long time, but once you have been to the toilet, it goes on, and then you have to go more often.
Okay, this is a tip I'm learning. Okay.
Try to keep it as long as possible.
Interesting.
Because you can hold it longer than you think.
Yeah. I don't know. I just have the Shrek philosophy, better out than in.
Of course, if you have the possibility, you have to throw it out. But that's funny with Oktoberfests in München. Like, they drink those liters of beer. And when it becomes around 10 o'clock, then you have long queues in front of the toilets. So one moment you go outside and everybody's peeing outside, and women are sitting peeing outside. And if it has to go out, it has to go out. You can, if you pee your pants, then it also goes on the floor. So when you have to go, you have to go. When you have to take a shit, it's a different story. But do you know, for example, that on my work that I am sometimes for 12 hours in that locomotive. We do not have a toilet. We do not have floating water. So that means it's just back to basic. If you have to take a shit, you call, or you wait till you go outside and you go sit behind a tree.
Really?
Yeah, really. It's not a passenger train. So it's really back to basic.
Remember, this is recorded. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, whatever. Who would care?
That's crazy though.
Most people don't even know that.
No.
It's also we call passenger trains. We call Barbie trains, pussy trains.
Why?
Because you just get on the platform, you get on the train, you drive from coffee machine to coffee machine. You don't have to do anything. You have a toilet in the train. That's also why a lot of women, they drive passenger trains, but in our line of work are no women. First of all, it's physically quite heavy because you have to connect the whole train. So imagine if you have 500 meters and you have a very sharp turn, mostly when you're on a terminal, then you have to lower your whole train. So that means you have to put it like that it becomes longer, like between the wagons. Then you create more space. And sometimes it's so rusty that even I have a problem to get it loose, even with my biceps. Also hygiene, like women have the period, so imagine that you're on your period and you cannot clean yourself or whatever. Some women don't give a shit, but most of the women have a problem with that. But you also can stand in the middle of nowhere in the forest in Germany that you hit a deer and that you don't know, and maybe you hit a person, that you can go with your flashlight to the back to see what you hit. While in the middle of the forest, for example, in the dark, in the middle of the night. But yeah, that's probably also the reason why you earn much more.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, most people don't realize that. If you know it's a nice job, yeah, I love the job. But I even have a bottle with me that I can pee in the bottle while I'm driving, and then I open the window.
Very rough life.
Nah, it's not rough. When we were children, we also did it, so I don't think it's rough, but sometimes I talk with conductors from passenger trains, and they really think they're a god. They really look down on us like, "Huh, you drive cargo." But they have no idea. They do not realize that we have much more knowledge than they have. Also, I had a few months ago at the nuclear train. Really a nuclear train. And we have a lot of bad styling trains like gasoline or gas or whatever. You cannot make mistakes. So you also have to have your knowledge about that, the poison good and dangerous good. And we have to have tests every year to see if we still have the knowledge.
Didn't know that.
Then sometimes you have containers full of Red Bull.
Containers full of Red
And then another train bumps into it, and then the container opens, and then you see that there are thousands of cans of Red Bull on the track.
Oy.
Trains with Volvo parts.
I think that's part of the reason why I never liked having traditional jobs, because it just felt like so much responsibility for something that is not even something I care about. So it's like I'm taking responsibility and I don't even give a shit. Like I have to be watching out for this Red Bull, making sure it doesn't spill, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna profit from this Red Bull. It's nothing to me. Why do I have to like sit down and care about this Red Bull?
No, but that's true. But I get every 3 years I have a fully medical checkup and a psychological checkup. That I have to go to psychologists, that I have to do tests, reaction test, concentration test, intelligence test, to see if you still can manage everything, because a lot of things at the same time happen while you still have to be focused, and in the meanwhile your brain also goes everywhere. And so you also be tested on multitasking, because there are a lot of things at the same time that you have to do. that people don't even realize. It's also a passenger train, by the way. Only we have it a little bit more because we also have, like, you can have the traffic leader, and in meanwhile your company calls, and then your ATB rings, or your PZB in Germany, or your dead man pedal. That every 30 seconds you have to let go. If you don't do that, first you get a visual signal, then a sound, and if you don't respond to that, then the train stops. And then imagine if you have 700 meters and 3,500 tons, that take minutes before the thing can go on. And then the traffic leader calls, why are you standing still? There's an ICE behind you. It's a fast train and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's generally more complicated than people realize. In the past we could take people with us, but we cannot do that anymore because it's the same as the cockpit from a plane. You're just not allowed to go in. But I still love my job. Mainly because I work alone, not with people. Because people in general, they're stupid, they don't do what you say. No, I think if I had to do it over again, I would do exactly the same. So I don't regret my job. I love my job. I like the bowl. It looks like Sprite,
Yeah, you're so right.
but it will taste totally different.
Oh yeah, just like chlorine.
Yeah, like water in southern Europe or in South America. They really, if you take a shower, you smell the chloride. But for the rest, I do not have things to go deep in. I think I'm quite stable, emotionally and physically.
I want to be in a jacuzzi of Sprite.
Unfortunately, it doesn't have aromatherapy. That means then you can put, then there's a special place where you can put smell, and then you can have all kinds of smells.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, you can do that, but then you pay a few thousand euros more, and I think, nah, that's not worth it. I already have one that's very complete with everything on it. This was already quite expensive. That's why I'm broke now. But yeah, if you have your house, then you have to finish it. You seriously think that people are listening to my bullshit?
You never know. I think it's interesting. I think people want to hear that they're not the only ones thinking this stuff. You know, when we talk about what's going on on the planet and life stuff, people want to hear that they're not the only ones thinking this stuff. And so I think every little bit is helpful. So it's not bullshit.
No, not about the climate. That's quite serious.
No, but everything you're saying.
About, like, for example, my job. Yeah, well.
Of course, I think that's interesting. And there were quite a few things that we've been talking about since I've been here that I've been thinking, oh, this would be nice to have on record because, you know, you bring up some very interesting points and stuff, you know? I can't remember off the top of my head, but definitely there were several times where I was just like, oh, this would have been cool to have on record.
Okay. Yeah, well, maybe you have something on record now.
Yeah.
At least it's real. It's not played.
Yeah.
So it's not, hey, we play an act. By the way, I would be a very bad act.
You sure?
I'm 100% sure. First of all, I have a problem. I can't lie. My mom already said when I was a child, and said something, and you're lying. I see it on your face. That's one thing. Also, I worked for a decade at the office, and when we had a meeting, and then the manager came with something, and then we had a colleague who was also, oh yes, cute, let's do it. And I'm thinking, seriously? And then my boss said, well, you don't agree, do you? I said, no, because this. Did you think about it? Yeah, actually, no, we didn't. Check it first. but they see in my face that I don't agree.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, why should you lie? I think lying is the stupidest thing you can do. Because if you lie, you have to remember. And there comes a moment that you fuck up,
Mm-hmm.
that people say, hey, but you were telling something totally different then and then.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to remember everything, and they only have flashes with you. So if you always lie, yeah, people will find out. The best thing is always tell the truth, because if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember, because you know.
Yeah.
That also makes your life much easier.
I think so.
Although I must say that I lied a lot the last 3 years. But that's because of my mom's disease.
Oh, so you would give her
Yeah,
comforting lies.
when I come and she said, hey, how's mom? Her mother already died 25 years ago. And I said, she's fine. Yeah, because I think I haven't seen her today, but tomorrow we'll see her. I said, yeah, she knows that you're here. Yeah, because I think I stay here and then go home.
Because otherwise you would break her heart every day.
Yeah, because the point is not only that, but their brain cannot catch it, because what they think is their reality. Like, for example, that imagine that you say right now to me, like, yeah, you're not in a jacuzzi. You think that you're in a jacuzzi, but you're not, because your brain doesn't work. And then I probably say, yeah, fuck you. But with all the people, it's a little bit more difficult. When they have to remove them to other places, like, for example, they had to paint, then they have to move a few days during the day to other places. A lot of people got totally mixed up, because it's kind of like people with autism. If you take them out of their daily rhythm, they panic. And it's also these people. So yeah, I was lying. As I say, I never lie, because I do lie a lot. In this case. But it's also difficult in the beginning, because in the beginning you go against it, and then 5 minutes later you get the same question. 5 minutes later you get the same question. And then one moment you realize that on the moment you say, oh, everything is fine, then you realize they don't ask it anymore. Yeah, they can ask, but not that often. So it's continuously just play like you are in their world, and their reality is the truth. But it's difficult, especially it's someone you always looked up to. So yeah, if you say, do you still have your parents, then yeah, my mom's body is still walking around, but it's not my mom anymore. But on the other hand, she lived on herself till 88 years old, so I think that's quite something, if you can say that. So it's fine. So yeah, actually my life is quite good. I have no complainings. It always can be better, but it can be much and much and much worse. You always have to, a coin always has two sides. You always have to check the other side of the coin. A nice story about that is when I think I was somewhere my end went, no, I think 27, 28 or something. And I was with my ex and my brother and his wife and his daughter. We were in a parky with roller coasters. I was a little bit old and I had a big pimple on my nose. And the only thing, I was thinking, oh shit, I have a pimple on my nose. Everybody sees a pimple on my nose. I have a pimple on my nose. And then one moment there was a little boy, I think he was 13, 14 years old, on a bicycle with 3 wheels. And he had one arm like this, and he missed one leg, and here he had a few fingers less, so he was multiply handicapped. And he had so much fun, he was so happy. And on that moment I felt ashamed, because I was worried about my pimple, and then I see someone like that boy who's completely happy. And then my eyes opened on that point. And the older you get, the more you start to realize, and the more your eyes go open, and they go more open, and you also find out that a lot of things are not true, especially with the media. They lie, or they tell incomplete truth. And then you see when they do interviews from people, and then afterwards you see the whole interview where they took pieces of, and then you see that that person said something totally different than what they show you on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I never watch that kind of shit anymore. I look TV like the programs that I'm watching now, but not anymore actual programs. I like the news or something. I have something like Let It Go. I hear it on the radio, one ear in, other ear out, and I filter something. Then you think, yeah, well, here they say, like for example, if you speak about climate, well, CO2 declined with 4.5%. And then 10 minutes later they tell that the 20% more cars on the road than 2 years ago. Do you really think 20% more cars, that's a lot. And I stand daily in traffic jam, daily.
But it can also be electric cars because aren't they phasing out oil cars?
Nah, there are not so many electric cars. There are, you see them in the street, but there are not so many. Still, most is like, you even see a lot of diesels that drive around. Even my colleagues, they just have new diesels. Although a diesel car from now with the AdBlue is better than a car on gasoline, on benzene.
The thing is that these cars can be retrofitted eventually to accept different kinds of fuel. So while it is a problem that you're having these new cars go on the road, I mean, the biggest problem is methane. Methane is the biggest problem. Methane comes from food waste and it comes from cows because cows burp and fart methane. So food waste, eating properly, not composting your vegetables, not wasting food, and having industrial processes that know how to deal with their food waste. So when they juice something, like it's not even like, ignore the first two things I said. Even ignore me saying that you need to think about like composting or whatever. Forget about that shit. If the industries deal with, like, say, food waste from making juice for people and all these things, and they deal with that food waste properly, we already have a big step in bringing down atmospheric warming, because atmospheric warming is really compounded by methane. CO2 is bad, but methane is deadly because it's more potent. But the thing is that methane clears up faster. So if we deal with it now, the problem becomes exponentially better. So it's complicated. It's not just CO2. But the thing is that
I also think it's the amount of people that we have on the planet, because the more people you get, the more people use, and it's normal because people need to eat. The more people consume, the more industry you have.
Yeah, but it's if there are people and less industry, then it doesn't matter. It balances out because people don't want. I mean, giving birth is painful. Okay, but giving birth is painful. It's not somebody's first choice.
No idea.
It's not somebody's first choice. They want to do it 1, 2, 3 times and get it right. They don't want to be just like having babies all over the place. So if people have the choice, they would rather not to have a bunch of babies. So population will take care of itself. What doesn't take care of itself is that industry tries to feed the population stuff that it doesn't need or stuff that won't last. So you have industry giving all these people that you say are like too many a huge amount of things to take from the planet. So much so that we're consuming more than the planet can give back.
Exactly.
But that's because of industry and capitalism pumping out the idea that we need to be taking on these things. It's not the fault of the many people.
Of course,
because the many people, if they had enough time at home to, be in their space with their friends, in their community, making things, doing things, if people had that kind of time, then they wouldn't need to like try to replace the time they miss with their children with plastic toys and junk.
Then you have to go back to the Amish.
No, you don't have to. Because like I told you about this, if you have maker spaces and hacker spaces and you have people who are taking electronic waste and reincorporating it into the cycle where they make new things out of old things, then you replace industry quite easily, but you also still have the conveniences of modern life.
Who do you think control the world?
Who do I think controls the world?
The same people who own the industry, and that are only a few people in the world that own everything.
So if we dismantle industry, then what is there left for them to control?
We should dismantle those people because they are in full power. They are too strong. They control governments. They control everything.
But if you make industry relevant, then they are irrelevant and they have no power to wield.
Yeah, but how are you going to do that? Because they will not let it come that far. They are responsible for the situation we're in right now. Also at the plastic. Plastic just makes a lot of money. That's why it's still there. If it were up to me, next week we have everything in glass bottles, and we would not use palm oil and that kind of shit anymore, because that takes so much. Like in Indonesia, you see how much forest, and in Brazil how much trees they have to cut just for the shit that we need. While if you put everything back in bottles, that saves millions of trees. But they just don't do it. I would be the first one to say, let's do it, let's do this. We don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need this. You see my fridge. My fridge is empty. Why? Because I don't like to throw away food. I see people, they have the fridge full of food, and a few weeks later they have to throw half of it away because it's over the day, expired, or is not good anymore. I hate it. I hate the fact that I have to take extra food with me on my work, because then I have to throw away later. Because if I have a shift from 8 hours, something can happen that my shift takes 12 hours. I need to eat, so I need to have food for me for that time. Sometimes I think, you know what, I don't do it, and then I'm totally starved, because then something happens and then I don't have anything. At least I make sure that I have enough drink with me. So that really bothers me, all that shit.
Yeah. I mean, there's a concept, and I don't really like it because it cannot be enforced in a good way. So it would have to be a personal choice, and in that case, then it would just have to get popular, and we just have to hope that it gets popular. But there's a concept called autarky, where individuals all decide, okay, I'm going to consume X amount per year, and I will do it however I want, but I won't surpass this amount of consumption level, or CO2 output, or methane output, or whatever you want to categorize it as or measure it with.
Well, I mostly eat fish, so in that case, I think if everybody would eat like me, then that would already reduce with 80-90%.
Yeah, it would be good. It would be good. Although fish have microplastics in them.
Yeah.
So you're eating plastic.
But the point is, I'm going to die anyway. And if I eat cows, then I eat hormones. If I eat chicken, then I eat antibiotics and hormones. So it doesn't matter. Do you know, if I buy meat, do you know where I buy it? At the Turkish butcher. Because then I get halal meat. And I mostly also take my fruits over there because their fruit is fresh. If it's up to me, I eat as less as possible from the supermarket. Sometimes I don't have a choice, but I'm really aware of those things. Also with just separate my garbage and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You can look outside, you will see that in one is empty now. There is my green stuff, then it's my paper, and then it's my normal garbage, and in the garage is my glass. And here you have the containers for green glass, brown glass, white glass. So although I really honestly do not care that much, I take care of it. So maybe I care about it more than I actually. I don't think that much about it, but I think. Well, I also like, for example, if I eat a banana or mandarin or whatever on my train, then I open the window and throw it away. Because that's natural. That's good. But the rest goes in the bag, and I take it home. When I come home, I put it in a garbage bag or at the gas station or something.
Yeah, and you don't have to believe in climate change to do any of that.
I think that's education.
Yeah, it's a totally different thing. They're two totally different things.
No, but what I think is like, yeah, I can throw this out, but then maybe a poor animal finds it, eats it, gets it inside. So I do think about it. I'm a hypocrite. I'm really a hypocrite because I love animals very much. I grew up with animals, always had them, but I also love them so much that I eat them. But if I had to kill the animal myself, I would be vegetarian.
Yeah.
Because
Same.
the worst thing I ever had to do is just kill a chicken when I was in special forces. They taught you how to prepare it, how to do it, because you have to survive in all circumstances. And that was the worst thing I ever did. Like even a fly that's in my house, I tried to get out. One moment they die anyway, because then you find them somewhere. But I'm not going behind a fly like. The only thing that I kill is when I see it, it's a mosquito.